13 years ago, I went mute, and I'm finally able to talk about what happened. From a young age, I was an extroverted and a stubborn girl, although I always listened to my parents, but that time, at 12, I felt rebellious. My neighborhood held a Girl Scout camp. Every year, my parents didn't allow me to go, but this time I felt old enough, which was my first mistake. Me and Kelly, my best friend, begged our parents, but they refused because they are responsible adults who cared about us. But to us 12-year-olds, they seemed like monsters. So I made a plan. We told our parents that we were going to Katie's house for a sleepover. They talked to Katie's parents, and we did stay at Katie's for approximately 12 minutes, and then we left for our epic camping trip. Kelly decided on the place, Ludenberg Woods, and that was our second mistake. Kelly and I have been best friends ever since we were little. Recently, it was her birthday, and I gifted her a unicorn bracelet, which she never took off. Our neighborhood was surrounded by woods. The Girl Scout camp took place in the eastern part of Wisteria Forest, so we were quite far away. We didn't really have any camping gear, just 2 pillows, a blanket, a small Barbie tent, a flashlight, and some snacks, enough for a day. We rode our bicycles from Katie's to the woods. At first, everything seemed nice. We heard birds and cars go by. The weather was nice and warm. We saw squirrels and rabbits jumping around. But as we went on, the forest grew thicker. We sat under a dark shaded tree. We ate our snacks, and I tried to scare Kelly. But what will happen next terrifies me to the core. As we started walking down the wrecked trail again, we couldn't hear or see any animals. The only sounds we could hear were of the rustling of the leaves. There was an eerie presence in the woods. I felt uncomfortable and suffocated. And then, there was a sudden cloudburst. It felt like the whole woods were closing in on us. An ominous feeling wrapped around me. The trees looked like tall, intimidating creatures. The peal of thunder startled us, and both of us ran for shelter. In a state of panic, I realized that Kelly was missing. Fog surrounded me, so I couldn't see anything, but I could feel she wasn't here. After I calmed down, I investigated my surroundings and scouted for Kelly. As I said before, where I live was quite warm, but here, it felt like it dropped about 10 degrees. Anyway, while walking down the path, I noticed something. It was iron. As far as I know, that wasn't natural. Why would there be human-made stuff so deep in the forest? I walked closer to it, and in the fog, I saw an iron staircase. It seemed new, polished, and untouched by nature, almost as though time had stopped for it. It seemed like someone had cut the stairs from a house and put them here. I was so mesmerized by them that it didn't even register to me that all the sounds were blocked off. At this point, I could hear nothing but my own breath. Looking at the stairs, I felt an unexplained morbid feeling to climb up. At that time, I felt like it was a must to climb. I had no choice, so I did. I started climbing them. With each step, I felt disconnected from reality. Nothing mattered. Eventually, I couldn't even hear my own breathing. Or was I not breathing? You may think that creepy sounds and screams are scary, but no. Silence. Dead silence is the most terrifying thing that could destroy a person. This type of silence will make your skin crawl and make you want to rip your ears out. There was only the final step left between me and whatever lies beyond. The last thing that I could recollect was feeling a push. That's it. I fell and lost consciousness. When I woke up, it was still pouring, even heavier than before. After I made sense of what was happening, I felt like being watched. Then, I heard my name in a low, distorted voice.
Rebecca.
It didn't sound human. I got up and looked around and saw the thing that haunts my dreams. Every last thread of hope was shredded by this deep despair. What I saw was a thing so horrifying that I can't even begin to describe it. It was tall and had 2 dark holes for eyes, a huge grin which stretched from one side to the other. It had huge limbs with sharp claws covered with disgusting blood. I was petrified looking at it. It continued to say my name in a now childlike voice. It began to walk towards me, repeating my name in the same disturbing voice. In a state of panic, I searched for a weapon, and my eyes landed on a piece of wood. Without thinking, I swung the piece of wood, hitting it until it was a bloody mess. After I realized what I had done, I ran away. I kept running and running. In my attempt at escaping that demon, I barely noticed the sounds of the woods. Panting and gasping for air, I finally made it out and dashed to my home, away from the deathly forest. I broke in and started crying hysterically. Kelly's parents, the Adams, were also there, talking with my parents. All of them shared the look of despair on their faces. They had cookies on the coffee table, which were untouched. My once sugar-loving parents were now anxiously making phone calls. My angsty teenage brother was actually out of his room and nervously listening to the conversation. Kelly's mom, Mrs. Adams, who once was a fashion diva and always wore makeup, was rough and sobbing. And even Mr. Adams, the most cheerful person I knew, was on the verge of tears. When their eyes met mine, they were completely taken aback. Mom threw everything, including the expensive new cell phone, and ran towards me. They hugged me so tightly that it was hard to breathe. All my anxiety faded away when my mom brushed the dirt off my face. For a second, everything was roses and butterflies, until I saw the look on Mr. and Mrs. Adams' faces. I could feel hope blossoming in their hearts. Their hope was like a beautiful stained glass window, which was shattered by the despairing news. When they questioned me about Kelly, my silence gave them the answer. I could see the color drain out of their faces. The forest rangers searched the entire forest until they came across a battered mess which DNA confirmed to be Kelly. It seemed she was beaten repeatedly with a blunt object. She seemed like an unrecognized pile of flesh. Kelly, who once was a high-spirited girl, obsessed with unicorns and nature, was now a part of the soil. We identified her because of the bracelet I gifted her, which was also covered in blood. Nearby, they found a piece of wood covered with the blood of Kelly, which was likely the murder weapon. There was no trace of fingerprints, footprints, or any other evidence due to the torrential rain, giving an upper hand to the culprit. Now, even after 13 years, they couldn't identify the perpetrator of this crime. I've told this traumatic tale to many, but there's one detail I always fail to mention. After hitting the monster, my eyes laid upon the lifeless body of my best friend, Kelly Adams.